We send our peace out and our peace returns. We send our joy out and our joy returns. What a beautiful day it is to stand before you and to say happy Valentine's in advance, and to also acknowledge that we're celebrating today the 71st anniversary of our spiritual community here on the Monterey Peninsula. Our charter was granted by the Home Office for, at that time, it was Religious Science International. Our charter was granted on February 14th, 1952. So the charter was granted on Valentine's Day. That establishes the love that is a part of this community. It was interesting yesterday in our visioning, we were talking about the love and the energy that is in this center and how it just embraces each one as we walk into the door. And someone made an observation that the love that established the center is actually in the DNA of the walls. And I really believe that, because whenever anyone comes, I just remember many, many years ago, I think I was still fairly new to religious science, and my wife and I were down in Monterey for an event, and we came to the center, there were still the pews in the back, but it was just the energy and the love that was in this space that I always remembered. And now to be a part of that, to embrace it and to share that with you and to share it with our Facebook community and those who are watching us via our YouTube channel. Just know that this energy is being sent out through the ways of technology and embracing you. Our theme for the month of February is curiosity as a superpower, and our talk for today is inquiring minds want to flow. Inquiring minds want to flow. When we find our glow, we are in the flow. And just to give you an overview of today's topic, you might ask, how do we relate curiosity, or how do we connect curiosity as a superpower? And we begin by asking the question that curious minds always want the answer for, and that is, what is the reason for my being? This question is not for the intellect. It has to be answered by the soul. And I think this is what identifies us as spiritual beings and connects with our spiritual nature, is recognizing that the questions that we ask about life are not for the intellect. The answers are from within, and when we move from the intellect into that inner space, into the heart space, into that infinite intelligence that expresses as us, that's where we find the answers. So we dive into this journey of self-discovery to find what makes us come alive. And again, that is the nature of our spiritual living, to come alive, to identify what it is that makes us come alive and go do that. A reminder that we are absolutely magnificent expressions of the divine, exactly as we are and exactly as we are not. We often overlook or tend to minimize or tend to downplay what we are not, because somehow we've gotten this idea, or it was transmitted some way in the teaching, that we're always to be lifted up, we're always to be joyful, that sadness does not have a place. And in fact, in learning spiritual mind treatment, an aspect of spiritual mind treatment is denial. So we deny that as that which is not like what we want to have or what we want to experience. And yet, we are a part of that. And this is not duality. This is not taking us into duality. We're recognizing that exactly as we are, we're whole, perfect, and complete as an expression of the divine. And yet, in this human experience that we're living, there are some aspects of our life that are not yet at the spiritual level that we would like for them to be. So we continue to work on that. This is Black History Month, and so I want to share a little Black History moment with you. And this is the story of Elijah McCoy, better known as the real McCoy. Some of you are familiar with the expression, the real McCoy. Now let's hear the story behind that. Elijah McCoy, an engineer and inventor, was born May 2nd in 1844 in Gloucester, and I believe I'm pronouncing this correctly, Gloucester, Canada West. And he died October the 10th, 1929 in Wayne County, Michigan. McCoy was a mechanical engineer and inventor best known for groundbreaking inventions in industrial lubrication. His parents, George McCoy and Mildred Goins, escaped enslavement in Kentucky in the United States by way of the Underground Railroad, arriving in Canada in 1837. Following a brief military service, George was awarded 160 acres of farmland in Gloucester Township, where Elijah was born and raised. From a very young age, Elijah enjoyed playing with his father's tools and machines, experimenting with different ways to fix them and to improve them. At age 15, Elijah's parents sent him to Edinburgh, Scotland, where he apprenticed for 5 years as a mechanical engineer. However, upon his return to Canada, he had difficulty finding a job in this particular field and moved to Ypsilanti, Michigan, where he was hired by the Michigan Central Railroad as a fireman. Because of the company's deep-rooted discriminatory practices excluded Black men from becoming engineers at the time, McCoy worked as a fireman working on steam engines. To function properly, steam engines needed constant lubrication and fuel. Locomotives had to stop frequently, and firemen were called out to squirt oil into the engine, to the axles, to the gears and the levers, a very time-consuming process that delayed many passengers and the freight trains from delivering their merchandise. In 1872, McCoy used his training and education to develop an automatic lubricator known as the oil drip cup that used steam pressure to pump oil where it was needed. This was a very effective way to lubricate the engine and prevent it from overheating. The device was an instant success because it was not particularly complicated, and competitors produced similar devices. However, because McCoy's device worked and was the best vision available, engineers began asking for the real McCoy. McCoy patented the device, and it was quickly adopted by railroads, by those who maintained steamship engines, and by others who used large machinery. Throughout his life, McCoy continued to improve the effectiveness and design of his automatic lubricator. The Michigan Central Railroad promoted him to the position of an instructor, where he taught others how to use his inventions, and later he became a consultant to the railroad industry at large regarding patents. By the end of his career, he had registered over 57 US patents, primarily related to the railroad industry. And now you have the rest of the story. And I offer this story this morning, not only as a celebration of Black History Month, but as an inspiration to you to maybe ask the question of yourself. What is the invention? What is the dream? What is the vision that is seeking to flow through my mind and manifest? Let us not get caught up in the idea of large or small for our dream, because we know in the realm of spirit, there is no large or small. The idea that is revealed through us is that idea for us to bring forward into the world. Our reason for being and our purpose is not bound by our chronological age or our circumstances. Science of Mind teaches that what we are seeking is seeking us. And this is a profound truth because when we seek to know our purpose in life, we realize that one of the greatest feelings is the feeling of being in the flow, being in the flow of grace, being in the flow of love, being in the flow of this intelligent energy. There is a divine calling deep within each one of us that is waiting to discover and to be expressed in a way that can only express when it comes forward and brings forward our many gifts that we contribute to the universe. In expressing more life, we are expressing a greater degree of the infiniteness of the Spirit. We are completely personifying it. And this is the real purpose and meaning to existence. It is the nature of Spirit to express through us, not in limitation, not in fear, not in want, but in freedom. And this quote is from Ernest Holmes in Lessons for Spiritual Living, Lessons in Spiritual Mind Healing on page 30. And also Ernest Holmes in Freedom from Stress on page 24 writes this: "It seems that we exist for the purpose of expression. There appears to be no other reason for expressing or a reason or excuse for our being. The infinite has already implanted within each of us an instinctive intuition, which is our spiritual knowledge of good and our whole growth and our inner awakening." And so what Ernest is telling us in this quote is that we are here to express. And so one of the ways that we tap into the expression is through tapping into our curiosity, is to become childlike, to become that. I often think of a 2-year-old. You know, I've had the experience of witnessing my daughter's 2-year-old, and then the grandkids' 2-year-old, and now I'm witnessing the great-grands go through their 2-year-old inquiry. And it's an interesting journey to watch them. And so as spiritual beings, the infinite has already implanted in each one of us this instinctive intuition, which is the spiritual knowledge of good and growth for our inner awakening. The journey of discovery is inward. The journey of discovery is inward. The desire to answer questions, why am I here, and what is my purpose in life, propels us to take a deeper look that makes us the unique individuals we are. We're all curious about our journey through life and often seek answers outside of ourselves. Yet, we ultimately find the answer within. We go without, we go on this spiral, if you will, in our outward expression, in our outward seeking. And the spiral isn't always upward. The spiral may take us down the proverbial rabbit hole. And we keep coming back to this question, why am I here? Why am I here? And we're looking for something outside of us for the answer. When we use our spiritual principles and our spiritual practices, the spiral of life, as Ernest Holmes described, is upward. And so the inward journey actually takes us upward in consciousness, to the point where we really find that the answers lie within us. There's a greater mind that we call upon, and there is nothing too great or too small for this mind. Our part is to listen. And this is the challenge. I know it's a challenge for me on many occasions to listen. Our part in listening is to be receptive, to believe absolutely, and to be convinced. To be convinced that That which I am seeking is seeking me. That which I am curious about, those answers that I am asking, the answer is in the question. The answer lies within me. And so it is in the stillness that I listen, and that I become receptive, and that I become convinced and convicted also. Ernest Holmes writes in This Life is Joy. The one without a great purpose in life is always consciously and unconsciously holding this purpose up to the universal influx, thus causing an outpouring of wisdom through their own individual mind. So our purpose in life is to consciously and unconsciously tap into this universal influx, knowing that the divine wisdom is flowing through us. And so you may ask, do we each have a unique purpose? And the answer is absolutely yes. We're all unique expressions of the divine, here to share our individual gifts and passions. No one else can ignite life the way that we can. Only we can do this individually. Recognize the importance of your life, because you are not to share your gift, because if you do not share your gifts, then they will never be shared in our own unique individual way. We each have a gift that no one else has. And I remembered a story, and some of you may be familiar with this. The story is of an individual who died and went to heaven. And as they were going on this tour of heaven, they passed by all of these rooms that were filled with all of these magnificent things that they had wanted in life. Everything, every idea that they had, every bit of curiosity that they had that had not been acted on was right there in heaven. And the moral of the story is that when we sit on our dream, when we squash our dream, when we don't tap into our dream, or when we share our dream with a dream stealer, we become discouraged. Then we miss out on all of the great opportunities that life has for us. And we wind up not sharing the gift that we have come here to share with the world. Don't let fear win. All too often, our fears and our beliefs hijack our attempts to discover our glow and our flow, that which makes us come alive. We become disillusioned and begin feeling stuck, and we dim that spark of curiosity. Everyone, I say this again, everyone has a unique and special talent to give to others. And when we blend this unique talent with service to others, we experience the ecstasy and the exaltation of spirit. And this is from Deepak Chopra in the 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. So my challenge to you, I'm trying to think of there's a TV show that was set in Las Vegas, and it was a discovery or a mystery type show. And the name will come at some point. But the challenge was given to these individuals who would go out on this journey. And the tagline was, "This is yours if you choose to accept it." And so if you choose to accept it, be courageous. Don't just dip a toe into the river. Just immerse your whole self into this river, letting go of the resistance. Dive in all the way into the center of the stream. Now, a word of caution. With the rains that we've had recently, and with all of the stirring that has taken place in the rivers and the streams, we might want to be a bit cautious before diving in all the way into the center. This is only a metaphor that I'm using this morning, but in consciousness, dive in, take that risk, be open, be vulnerable, trust spirit. Discover yourself along the way. This is how we find our purpose. This is how we express our curiosity. This is how we go within and discover really what it is that makes us come alive. We find that we're in the glow and that we are in the flow. And I conclude with this story, and it's one that I have shared before, but I ask you to listen to it because I think it illustrates curiosity. According to an old Hindu legend, there once was a time when all human beings were gods. But they were so, let me start again. There once was a time when all human beings were gods, but they abused their divinity, and Brahma, the chief god, decided to take away the divinity. Take it away from them and hide it where it could not be found. So he's not totally taking it away, but he's covering it over, placing it where it can't be found. So the question was where to hide their divinity. And he called together a council of the gods to help him decide. And so some of the gods said, "Let us bury it deep in the earth." And Brahman said, "No, that will not do because humans will dig into the earth and they will find it." And so the gods said, "Let us sink it into the deepest ocean." And again, Brahman said, "No, not there. But they will learn to dive into the ocean and they will find it." Then the gods said, "Let's take it to the top of the highest mountain and hide it there." Once again, Brahma said, "No, that will not do either because they will eventually climb every mountain and once again take up their divinity." The gods gave up and said, "We do not know where to hide it because it seems that there is no place on earth or in the sea that human beings will not eventually reach." Brahman thought for a long time and then said, "Here's what we will do. We will hide their divinity deep in the center of their being, for humans will never think to look for it there." All of the gods agreed that that would be the perfect hiding place, and the deed was done. And since that time, human beings have been going up and down the earth, digging, diving, climbing, and exploring, searching for something already within themselves. This is where we practice radical curiosity. This is where we discover curiosity as our superpower by asking the questions of ourselves and knowing that the answers and that our divinity is within. And so our call to action or our life work for this week this quote from Ernest Holmes: "There is an irresistible, universal, and divine urge within us to be happy, to be whole, and to express the fullness of life." And so our call to action this week, if you choose to respond, is to take time to vision for the divine's highest idea of your life. Do not judge or analyze your vision. Just observe what it stimulates and where it takes you. Do it often. Be courageous. Don't let your unique spark not find its life. And so our affirmation for the week: I am expressing my divine calling right here, right now. Let us say that together. I am expressing my divine calling right here, right now. And let us turn within to that place where we know the all-prevailing presence of Spirit. is absolute, constant in our lives. For it is the very essence of who we are, that one life, that one power, that one presence. Recognizing the divinity of each one as an expression of the divine, I speak my word now for this service, for this community, and for all communities where people are gathering in the name and nature of the one life, the one power, and the one presence. I speak my word of healing and blessing for those who are experiencing life challenges, life trauma, life decisions, those things which create that feeling of discomfort or dis-ease. I know that the Spirit in the indwelling presence is bringing about a healing to all of the places where the healing is required. This infinite intelligence that resides within each one is just saying yes to whatever the occasion is, whatever the experience is. I speak my word of blessing this morning and declaring peace in this world. And as the songwriter said, when there is peace in my mind, when there is peace in my heart, there will be peace in the world. So I am calling forward from within myself, and I am calling forward from within each and every one, that heart-mind space where there is peace, where I am at one with the divine. I am at one with this intelligence. And I know that everything is unfolding in right and perfect order, regardless of what it looks like in the human eye. In the spiritual realm, in the mind, in the name and nature of the one love, everything is unfolding as it should be right here, right now. And I speak a word of healing this morning for those of us who are experiencing life transitions. And I call forward the name of our sister and congregant, Christy Shaw, who made her transition this past Tuesday. Knowing that as Christy has stepped off of the mortal plane into the eternal givingness and extensions of life, that we remember her spirit, and each time we have a memory of Christy, each time we recall Christy's name, her essence, and the aliveness of her beingness is with us. I also remember this morning my beloved, our matriarch of our family, who stepped off of this mortal plane 7 years ago and is now expressing in her fullness, in her divinity, and in her glory. And each time that her name is called out, Rhea Branham Collins, the love and the energy and the peace that she demonstrated rests with our family and all who knew her. And for each one whose name I do not know, call it forward in your own mind, call it forward in your own heart, blessing the memory, blessing the aliveness, blessing the experience and the joy of the connection and the relationship with this individual. And as we go forward this week, as we go forth from this time and from this place, I know that the life we live is the life of God, and this curiosity that is flowing through us manifests in marvelous and magnificent ways. And all that is required is that we just say yes. We just say yes. And so in gratitude for this and so much more, knowing that my word has set a new cause in motion, and that it must produce what I have declared, I now release it back into that law, which always says yes, and I just allow it to be so. And if any of what I have said resonates with you in any way, let us affirm it together by saying, and so it is, and so it is. I just want to take this opportunity to remind us that our ministers and prayer practitioners are available to support us in moving through life's opportunities, those which may show up as challenges, those which may show up as joyful expressions. And so our contact information is on our website, It is in our newsletter. Um, and we also partner with our friends at Unity. And so the contact information for the Unity World Ministry of Prayer can be found in our newsletter, and also our own Centers for Spiritual Living World Ministry of Prayer. So don't carry a problem with you. Let us share the experience, and let us pray for the wholeness and for the perfect outcome of what is taking place. And so I just have a few things that I would like to share with our Facebook and YouTube community. An invitation to join us for our visioning. On Saturday morning, we gather in vision for our center. And on Sunday, we gather in vision for our community. And the Zoom information is on our screen, so I invite you to take advantage of that. We are continuing in the season for nonviolence, and I want to say thank you to Sandy Nee for bringing forward the reading for today, which is day 20 of the 64 days, today 21. No, 21 is next week. What's today's? Today is day 14. Day 14 of the 64 days for the season for nonviolence. And also today, as I mentioned, is our 71st anniversary. So we say happy birthday to ourselves. Happy birthday to us. Next Sunday, you're invited to join us after service for Soul Collage that is facilitated by a practitioner, Denise Kaku. And on the fourth Sunday is our Spiritual Living Circle. Also, next Sunday, our guest speaker will be Denise, and the topic is The World is an Oyster. I will be away next week. I am having a little surgical procedure tomorrow and will be spending some recovery time nurtured by my family in Stockton. So I will be away from the area for a couple of weeks, and we're in good hands. We're in excellent hands with Denise. So thank you for saying yes to stepping in. And so to our virtual community, thank you. The important piece, probably the most important piece. No, not the most important piece, but certainly an essential element of our coming together and our sharing is to participate in the flow of circulation. And so it is now our time for offering. And we have an affirmation of abundance. Let us say that together. I recognize the presence of God within as a source of my abundance. Out of my abundance consciousness flows everything I could desire in life. With gratitude and thanksgiving, I now participate in the flow of uninterrupted abundance. This prosperous experience is evidence of my abundance consciousness. And so in deep, deep gratitude for the ways that this community continues to support itself, you may send in your donations via mail to our physical location, 400 West Franklin Street here in Monterey, and the zip is 93940. You may text to give at 831-246-9694. And you may also donate online to our website, montereycsl.org. Click on donate. And also, while you're on the website, if you have not signed up for our weekly newsletter, please do so at that time. And so now we say, good morning and God bless you, and we love you to our Facebook Live community and to those who are watching us on YouTube. And remember, click the like button and click share so that this message of love can be spread throughout the entire planet.